Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another smashing episode of Page Chewing Comics and Manga Pick of the Week. This is episode number 30. And I'm here with Steve. This is Mike. Was away for a few weeks and just really excited to be back. And I did pick up a few comics that over the few weeks while I was traveling, so I have quite a few to cover. And just for those of you that are new, maybe first-time listeners to the podcast, both Steve and I are kind of getting back into the whole comics scene. You know, we're physically picking up comics. Sometimes we might, once in a while, read them online. But we've been away from the whole world of comics and just having the weekly pulls where we're picking up kind of series and following along different series. Of course, we kind of decide if we're going to continue or not. Sometimes we're on the fence as well. So, yeah, Steve, I'm handing it over to you if you wanted to give any other introductory remarks.
No, I think you covered it all. And I think I know we talk about this a lot in the podcast, but it's a little bit intimidating to come back to the hobby, being gone for so long with all the different continuities and storylines. And I think some of these books just assume that you know what's going on. And yeah. I've tried to get into, for those of you who have listened, I've tried to get into a couple that I just no idea what's going on. So, but there is a book this week that is in the DC universe that I think did a pretty good job on kind of bringing you into the story, and it didn't feel so weighed down with continuity.
Definitely. Yeah, we do have a few of those. I could get us started if you want.
Sure.
My first pick is Ghost Machine. This is by Image. I may have alluded to this before. So Ghost Machine is a fully shared, creator-owned universe. And there's quite a few authors that are in this issue. I don't know if I think it's a number 1, but it may even be a number 0. I can't list off all of the authors. There's at least 11 or 12, I should say, creators. But I did talk about Geiger, which is Jeff Johns and Gary Frank, and they're in this, and they feature prominently. Ghost Machine is, I guess it's, as I mentioned, it's almost like a big. It's definitely marketing. So I don't want to say it's a big advertisement, but it kind of is. And so we are introduced to many, many characters, and like very short, kind of just 2 or 3 pages of a new character every few pages. This is a 60-page issue. It's beautiful. I mean, as I mentioned, there's different creators. So there is a variety of artwork. Sometimes tonally, though, there's quite a big jumps here and there. So just to mention, I already talked about Geiger, who is this kind of nuclear ghost skeleton-looking character, which I probably won't go into detail on any of these really because of time. But there's many other characters introduced, such as Redcoat, who is an immortal being who has been living since the Revolutionary War. I don't really understand why. There's like 2 or 3 pages that talk about him, so I don't understand much. So that's kind of in a similar world or universe as Geiger somehow. I don't know how they're going to interact. And then there's, some other main characters. Probably the one that I thought was more interesting is a character called Rook, who's like kind of like a bird, has a helmet, and that's in a universe where people are kind of emulating different animals. I guess it's not really well understood. So I won't go into more detail on all of the different names, but I will say that there's even some YA type of stuff. So or I should say, I mean, this is teen, but it's really like a much younger audience. So there's maybe teen plus and teen maybe mixed in here. So there's some tonal jumps. And then at the very end, one of the last kind of short stories is like a horror story. So in short, like I said, the artwork is gorgeous, but I'm rather confused. But this is my first time kind of reading something like this, where it's like a big splash of a bunch of a new introduction. I assume maybe it's been done before by, maybe Marvel or DC. I don't know, but maybe, I don't know if Image has done something like this before. I get the sense that this is a kind of a big swing for them. I really can't say whether or not I want to continue with any of the characters. So it's a little, I don't know. I'll see. But this was kind of a miss for me, just because, I mean, it's 60 pages and it's $4.99 as I mentioned. So that's not too bad. They probably should have made it even less, to kind of get, wet people's whistle. But yeah, I'm not so enthralled about this one.
Yeah, I saw the cover and I kind of debated it, but it seemed a little goofy. So I didn't pick it up.
Yeah, I was a sucker.
Yeah, they got you. So you said it leans a little into YA even.
Yes, there's some characters that are they're like teens, right? Mm-hmm. And one is a devil and one is like an angel, and just, I don't know. Even the artwork to me, veered off more into a younger audience. Yeah. I don't know if they use the term YA in comics, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I don't hear it too much in comics, YA. I think it's more of, I think YA is, there's a certain art style I think that's more associated with YA books. I think that, but yeah, I'm not sure. I don't hear it mentioned too often in comics, more in, novels. Interesting. So if you see issue 2 on the shelf, is it a decision in the moment, or are you leaning one way or another?
I get the sense that there's not going to be a lot of Ghost Machine. I think there's going to be the Red Coat series, and there's going to be the whatever. One of them is called Rockefeller series. I mean, some of the names too. So like, I think there's at least 5 or so, and then Geiger, as I mentioned. And so that's the big question. I don't know how many they're going to be, because they're not together. They're all different stories. They kind of nod to some of the other characters a little bit. So I can't imagine that this would continue like this. And if it did, I would not continue for sure. I haven't been sold on any of the new characters really, maybe except for one. Yeah. But I did like Geiger, so I might continue with that one. I think volume 2 is coming out.
Oh yeah. Geoff Johns, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of a bummer, but swing and a miss. At least you give it a shot, I guess. So, my first book this week is You and I. It's by J. Michael Straczynski and Mike Choi. This is published by AWA. So in this world, we live in a post-pandemic world that resulted in some people having special powers. And those people are kind of blacklisted, kind of exiled in society. They're ostracized and they're viewed as kind of, dangerous or, the unwanted. So from what I understand, I didn't know this going into it, but I guess there's some other titles that led into this, or that gave more background of the pandemic and kind of what led us to this point, and I'm a little bit disappointed I didn't know more about it before I read it. I felt it had potential, but the characters just didn't do enough for me to invest in them. But the artwork did a good job of, there's a distinction between what's really happening and what our characters see is happening. So I felt like the artwork, the style of artwork changes to kind of help you along and let you differentiate what's real and what's not. So that wasn't enough for me to care enough, I guess. I mean, it seems fine, but like I said, I'm more of a character person. The characters just didn't do it enough for me to dig deeper into it. It just didn't hook me. I think it does have potential though. It's something I'll keep an eye on, and I'll kind of, see what the reactions are to the further issues. But I don't think, unless it's something that people rave about, that I'll probably give another shot to.
I have a question for you. Are you, do you feel like reading about pandemic and post-pandemic is a little too on the nose?
No, that's another thing is, I know, I think for some people it's therapeutic to kind of have the ability to look at it in a different way, to have I guess, to see it in a fictional world. But I'm so burnt out on the pandemic, and it's not something that I feel like I can escape into this world when it's about a pandemic, and a little too close to home. I just want to get away from all that stuff. And I know we're, we're outside of all that stuff by now, but still it's a little too soon to get into it. And there was a rash of movies and books and all these things that were trying to kind of strike when the iron's hot, I guess, during that time of pandemic stories and things that we could relate to, or, kind of what we were experiencing at the time. Even back then, I just didn't. I wanted to think about something else. I just didn't want to hear more about it. So I get why for some people it's therapeutic, or it's a way for them to kind of feel like they can take a step away from it. But for me, I don't, not something I'm particularly interested in revisiting.
Yeah, I think maybe in a few years, maybe 10 years, who knows? We might want to relive it. Remember those wonderful days of toilet paper and
remember that?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Getting food delivered to your home. So I'm going to kick us off onto my second comic, which is Star Wars, Thrawn Alliances. Yes, I went there. And this is by Marvel. It's issue number 1. I know that there's been many other. I think there's been other Thrawn kind of. There's at least one other series, and this is Timothy Zahn. So that's one of the reasons I was wanted to get into this. So Timothy Zahn wrote some pretty well regarded Star Wars books. I think I only read one, maybe one and a half. And this was back in the 90s, so quite a while ago.
Oh, wow. Like
he's a well-known author, and this character of Thrawn is pretty well regarded. He's like a blue guy with red eyes. So that's why I picked it up. And we've got, you've got your Darth Vader in here as an Emperor Palpatine. And then, so that's kind of there's 2 timelines. So we're starting off with these characters, which is kind of different. I kind of like that a little bit. And then it brings us to, I guess, Padme and Anakin, which brought me back to the episode 1, 2, and 3, which I don't think I was able to finish. But I think I may have rewatched it with my son later. But some good nostalgia. But one thing I got to say that really put me off is this was $5.99. And no, I don't understand why. So I don't know if there's more pages. Maybe there's a little bit more pages. So there's a lot of scheming and I'm a little bit confused about the story, to be honest with you. There is quite a lot of dialogue, going on, but generally, a disturbance in the force is being investigated. That doesn't sound very very new, but that's part one of the main plot lines. And I'm just not a huge fan for like flashbacks and things like that. Sometimes I'm okay with it, but yeah, I would recommend this for people that are fans. I don't think the story is terrible. I think for people that are really into it, I'm just a little too burned out, and this is cost prohibitive for me to continue. It would have to be really good, I think, for me to continue. There is a free digital comic that is available, but you need the Marvel app.
Oh.
And I'm not going to download that necessarily.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I guess that's a way for them to sweeten the pot a little bit, but still, it's kind of a high price tag for that. Is it cardstock extra thick, or did it seem like it's any effort went into presentation?
I don't think so. No. I mean, it's. I can't say the artwork is bad. It's what we've come to expect, I think, from Marvel. I think everything kind of looks kind of similar. It's polished. It's pretty. It's, it's a nice cover, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think anything special is going on here except there's a free comic in there, digital. Yep. I don't even know who the character is. It's Return to Judah. I didn't. It looked like an elf character. I wasn't gonna.
Requires homework.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan. I think there's some Vader in the comics is ruthless and more of a villain, so I enjoy that. But it just wasn't enough for me to dive. I know a lot of people love the Thrawn books. But I don't know, one of these days maybe I'll dive into them, but I don't know that I care enough to to get into Star Wars. I mean, I think there's some good stories. Like I enjoyed Andor, but I don't know.
I didn't finish the first episode.
Oh, wow.
Should I continue?
Yeah, I thought it was okay. I think I'm not the biggest. I mean, I think I'm warming up to Star Wars. I'm trying to get into different titles and kind of see it with the different, because I think it was so, I think it was this thing where everyone, it was constantly around, and I just kind of, it was a little bit overexposed for me. I never really understood it. Like, what was so special about it? I mean, I get like it's influential and but now that as I've gotten older, I've thought, well, maybe I'll kind of go in with a fresh mind and just kind of feel like I'm starting new again. So maybe one day kind of go on that journey.
Okay, so I have the next one. So I'm up again here, and I'm going to be talking about Beyond Real, also another issue 1. I'm a sucker for some of these. I'm kind of like, I'm going to give it a go. This is by Vault Comics, by Kaplan, Mascolo, Fezjula, Belair, and Otsman Elhau. And I may have mispronounced several of those names. Actually, this one I liked quite a bit. There's 2 main characters. They're basically a couple. I think the name of Eli and June. Eli is a physicist and June is an artist, and they're having their wonderful life. And something bad happens. I'll say it's a car accident, and June, the character, recovers quickly, and she starts to kind of get, I don't know if you'd call it superpowers, but she starts to see the world in a different way. And so there is a theme of what is real, what is reality, what is not. I don't mind that kind of discussion. I love that kind of discussion, actually. And because, we dream, we spend half of our day dreaming, and our one perception of reality is different from another. Yeah. So I do like that exploration. I will say that the ending was a little bit strange, so I don't really know where it's going, but I really appreciated the artwork. They're doing some experimental things here with coloring. There's some coloring where it's like very blank, and then the next page will be a splash of colors, and so depending on what June, the artist character, is perceiving. So yeah, I'm definitely like to, I'd like to continue with this one, see where it goes. Like I said, the ending was a little bit like kind of confusing. I don't know. I feel like it's like the last page has to be like this reveal, and you're like, I don't know if we always need that. I don't necessarily need that. I just want to maybe continue with the story. I generally I like this one.
I didn't even hear about this one. Just looking up the kind of the ratings for it. It looks like it's receiving really good ratings.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good to know, because I haven't looked at any ratings. But I'm impressed.
Yes. Yeah, and the definitely has a different look and feel to it, but love the cover. Nice. So will you keep your eye out for the next one?
Yes, I am planning to continue for sure. If you're in, well, let me just mention, if you're kind of interested in The Matrix, it's got some elements there. There's some elements of coding and reading code.
Yes.
I don't know where it's going, but it's we'll see.
Yeah, it looks interesting. I didn't even see that one. So the next one for me is, it looks like Batman 142. This is Joker Year 1. And it does... So there's a 3 Joker thing where 3 Jokers were created for some reason. I don't know why exactly. And I think I'm not sure what happened there, because I'm out of the loop. But I did really love the artwork. There's a lot of different styles on display. And we have, Chip Zdarsky's the writer, and Andrea Sorrentino was amongst the artists. So that style really fits Batman in general, kind of the look and feel of it. So I did enjoy that. We're exploring the Joker and his origin again, kind of looking into his inner thoughts. And I'm not sure why we need another Joker origin story. I'm not sure what the point of it is, but I'm going to read it anyway. I don't know. I guess I'm a mark for it. So I'm not really sure what's going on. And that's kind of what we talked about, continuity. I didn't really get the 3 Joker thing, but we are exploring Joker. There was a few panels were a little on the nose with their themes and kind of the poses that Joker's in, that I wasn't sure what seemed a little, I don't know. I'm not sure that it worked, but yeah, I'll check out the next issue. I think it's out this week. So I'll check out Batman 143, and I think it's only a 2-issue run. So I'm a little bit puzzled why, but I'll read it anyway because I'm a sucker. But yeah, so I'll continue with this one, but I really like the Joker. I just don't know why we need to keep exploring the origin story. I don't know if I think people love origin stories. I think it's kind of a look back at the beginning and kind of get I think you could do different things with it and even retcon things or change things about the origin for some of these characters. But then then the characters become like a jumbled mess where you don't know which version of the character you have when you have 15 or 20 different versions of this character rolling around the universe and you don't know which one you're going to get. So on one hand, it's fun to look back and to kind of explore these characters, but I think, and we talked about this a little bit a couple of weeks ago, but I think, for the rumors are that DC is going to launch like a alternative universe. I think that would really be a benefit to have a separate universe to play in and to do crazy things with, and to kind of start fresh, especially for people like me who I don't know what's happened before, why there's 3 Jokers, or so it's kind of lost on me.
Yeah, it looks like it might be 3 issues. I'm looking at the DC, the website for this comic, but I think the artwork is intriguing. There's a lot of different styles on here. I'm not sure what I'm looking at, but one thing I will say, I watched a YouTube video about how, like, kind of very basic, like, how do you get into like older comic series? And the advice was you need to start when the new writer starts or when a new volume starts. So I wondered if you went all the way back to number 1. You wouldn't have to go all the way back for 50 years or whatever. But if this is 142, that's several years. That's quite a few years worth. If there's an issue once a month, so I don't even know how you would do that. But maybe I'm willing to do that for some of these characters. But like if you could get it from the library or something. But yeah, that's quite an investment to do that.
I think this is a series that Greg Capullo and Scott Snyder started with the New 52. I think this is the same title. And since then, we started with the New 52, and then we had the Doomsday Clock event happened where we started fresh with the New 52, and then we went back and brought the old universe back in. So it became even more convoluted and kind of a mess. So I think this is the same title, but I might be wrong.
Okay. Fascinating. I will not say whether I know what the New 52 is. It sounds good though.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
I heard about that event, so I need to do my homework so I don't sound like a complete dumbass next time.
Yeah, in a nutshell, it was just I believe the Flash. It was Flashpoint. The Flash kind of created like an alternate timeline, and all the characters except for, I think, Green Lantern, they kept some of his G.F. Johns stuff, so they didn't quite reboot him, but they rebooted everything else and started fresh. And there was 52 issues, 52 different titles that launched that were all new. It was a fresh, clean slate and kind of starting off from square one. And then several years later, they decided we like that old stuff. Let's put it all back in. And then they jammed it back in. So I don't know. At the time, I know a lot of people weren't fans of it, but at the time, I thought it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of bad books, but it was fun to all these number ones and all this. Like, I was excited because, I could start at the beginning and get into all these different titles I couldn't before. Then I was familiar with Green Lantern because I was a fan of the Geoff Johns stuff, so I felt like I could get into any of these books. And there were some bad ones, don't get me wrong, but there was also some really great ones. So. Kind of a bummer.
So I'm gonna discuss Crashdown, which is by Massive Comics, I believe. It also says Whatnot Publishing. I don't know. Sometimes I get a little confused. I'm pretty sure it's Massive. And this is number 1 by Comic Tom Garcia, Ryan Sargent, and Ben Temple-Smith. The cover intrigued me because there's like tentacles, so I assumed maybe there's some Lovecraftian stuff going on. And I think there may be. It's hard to tell from the first issue, but I would. Well, there's a monster that appears early on in this. It's like a sci-fi story about. Earth, it's kind of like a dead Earth or dying Earth story, which I'm intrigued by. I'm interested in. So Earth is pretty much a goner. I guess the sun is burning out off into the future here, and so there interplanetary travel is now possible, and so we are following a crew of people that are headed hundreds of years of travel away to the next habitable planet. And so we get a little bit of flashbacks and introduction to quite a few characters. There's no one character that we settle on, so it's just an ensemble, and so I don't feel the need to really say who is what yet at this point. It has these kind of sci-fi I had mentioned, but also horror elements, because something goes wrong in the cryo. What is it called? What do they call that in Alien? When people are frozen. It's not cryospace. I wanted to say that, but
like cryosleep.
Thank you. Let me just say something goes wrong, and I was kind of shocked. I think there is some. Obviously, there's what I've already described here is probably doesn't sound very new to anybody. So what maybe is going to push me forward was the artwork. The artwork is very different. The artwork has a sort of cartoonish look, but also almost like the movie Tron, where everything's kind of lit up. So instead of like these lines, there's like you can see light and everybody, and so it's just a different style for sure. Different use of light, let me say. So the composition I appreciated, but I could see it probably didn't work for everybody. So I'm not super excited to continue, but there were a few things that worked for me. So I think I will continue with this one. But yeah, I might actually. This is one case where I'm going to probably look at the first few pages in the store before I continue to see where it's headed. So yeah, I think I'm might continue with this one.
Yeah, that one I hadn't heard. I'm surprised I haven't heard of this one either. But just looking at the website and kind of hear you talk about it, it looks pretty good. A great cover too.
Yeah. But then when you get inside, it's totally different.
Temple Smith?
Kind of yeah. So it's yeah, not bad.
Not bad at all. Definitely have to pick that one up. So, this next one was really close to be my pick. Really, really close. But it is Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, issue 3 by Patrick Horvath by IDW. I just love this series. It's just so much fun. I just love the kind of the storybook look, looks like a children's book, but it's about a serial killer. All the characters are animals, or like kind of like stuffed animals, and it's like this really sweet and quaint town that this stuffed teddy bear is going around killing people, and then another serial killer shows up and starts murdering people in Sam's backyard, and Sam is the killer, and she wants to find out who the other killer is. So it's just fun. So Sam is trying to figure out who the killer is and investigating different people in the town, trying to find clues on who could it be. And everyone in the town seems really sweet and innocent and kind of like an aw shucks kind of character. And just the fact that they're all different animals adds to that kind of that like children's storybook. I feel like it's just fun. So the whole city's in panic, and Sam is trying to figure out who the other killer is. And so Sam does some digging and finds some things that may not have wanted to know about some of the townspeople. So it was a fun issue. There wasn't a whole lot, and that's why there wasn't a whole lot in the story that that really, there wasn't like a big event or a big reveal or really, it was more of a quiet issue, but so it just barely missed my pick, but it's another great issue of Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees.
I read the first issue today. I didn't catch up with you, but I was hooked. There was a scene in there in the first issue where you're like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
This poor duck character.
It is very jarring.
Wow. I think you nailed it before. It's just lulling you into this, oh, it's so sweet, Winnie the Pooh kind of world. But no. Oh, no.
Yeah, it's just fun. It's just like this fun exploration of this like children's book. You just wouldn't ever expect some of the scenes we've had, especially in the first issue. But
yeah, definitely. So I'm going to be talking about Bloodrick number 3. I think both you and I may have talked about this before. This is still Image Comics, but I've got a lot of Image here. And this is by Andrew Cranky. He's the star of the show. I think he does everything here. So if you were listening to the podcast before, you will know that Bloodrick is a big, giant, muscular, hulking barbarian type. And his quest for food continues. So this is not a big change, but at least for the first half of the book. But he does meet a new character, so there's some excitement happening. He meets somebody. I think this is the first time he actually interacts with another being. And wow, this it's pretty. The interaction is gruesome. And if you like, blood and guts, it's probably worth it to read the three issues, because there's several pages of him, basically pummeling somebody with his own bare hands so that he can eat.
Oh, wow.
So, anyway, I don't want to give it. I'm not really giving much away. It's really more of a visual display than anything. And again, the artwork is stealing the show here. It's not really the story. It's extremely stylish. I would say the artwork is non-commercial. Mm-hmm. And I normally don't love this, but there is a section in here where the artist does describe how he does his trade, the different steps that he takes. And I really appreciated that. I'll spare you the details. He does mention that he was inspired by heavy metal.
Yeah.
So one of the Bloodrick character looks like somebody that I may have remembered from my youth. The couple negatives, I mentioned the story it's not much of a story, really. It doesn't always bother me that much. I don't mind. But one thing I didn't like is it has 2 recaps, not one, but 2 recaps of what happened in the first 2 issues. And you're like, why is that needed? It's kind of a waste of, like, I got it the first time. It's on the back cover as a recap of what happened. And then there's another, like, this is what happened again. And so I don't know if to me, that's an editing issue. But so, I think, Steve, you might want to check this one out. If you kind of want to, I'm not going to say it wraps everything up about the character, but yeah, it's there's some, now this is a horror story for me.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's a whole lot to wrap up, really. I think you're right with saying it's like stylist. There's a lot of I think the artwork really steals the show. The layouts, the different panels, the presentation really, that's kind of what steals the show. There's not a whole lot of story, at least in the first two issues, but I can appreciate it's more of a visual experience, I think. And yeah, I didn't see them in the store this week, so I'll have to try and find it.
Yeah, I'd love to hear what you think.
Yeah. So if there's a second series or a Bloodrick continuation or more of the same, would you grab it?
Probably. I mean, I can tell that I probably mentioned this before. This is a labor of love for Andrew Cranky here. I'd like to see what else he's done. Yeah, I don't even love the character. It's just that it's got this gritty, rough hewn feel that for whatever reason is just working for me. It's different. So I like different. So I probably would continue.
Yes. Yeah, I really do appreciate when a creator just does something different and just does what they make their vision come to life, even if it isn't something that would be necessarily, wouldn't be the obvious choice to kind of to be the style of the moment or story that would kind of strike while the iron's hot. So I really respect that. So I'll check out the third issue.
Yeah, me too.
So my choice this week was a surprise to me because after issue 1 of Kneel Before Zod, I thought it was fine. Like I thought it was okay. I really like I mentioned a couple of times before. I really like the evil Superman stuff. So Zod is basically like an evil Superman in a way. So I really like the idea of that type of villain and what they would be up to and kind of what they would get into. So first, the art is really growing on me. I would think it's not the kind of artwork I would have expected necessarily at first. And this is I should mention, this is by Joe Casey, the writer, and Dave McCade. So at first, I didn't really expect the artwork to work for me as much as it does. And also, there's a great use of color in this one. There's some really great panels with color. I really like what was done with that. So I was surprised that I liked it as much as I did. Not only did we get to know what Zod is up to, where he's gearing up for war, but also even more of a surprise is he gets put in his place a little bit, and he may not have the position he thought he did, or we thought he did. So I thought that was a nice little, didn't go as I expected at all. So I thought it was fun. It was a fun issue, and surprisingly to me, I think maybe most of all, this was my pick of the week.
Yeah, I read this one as well, and to me, I felt I agree with just about everything you said. I think my one maybe criticism or takeaway was I like the way it ended, but I felt a little confused, and more in this one than I did in the first one. But I feel like I probably read it late in the day, and now I'm feeling like I may want to reread it. So it's, how sometimes, with these things.
Oh yeah.
I guess they're gearing up for war. Some big war, something big is going to happen probably in the next issue. So, but his, I like the interaction with I think it's his wife, Ursa, right? So to me, it was definitely, it's something I added it to my list already from issue 1. So I'm continuing for sure. So my pick of the week, and I think Steve, this may have been a pick of the week for you in the past, is Crave, issue number 3. And this is by artist and writer Maria Lovett. I don't know. Now I'm wondering why I picked it as my pick of the week, but I think the story is simple, but it's different. As we've said before, the artwork is at times very sparse. Even the backgrounds there's not much of a background, but I do appreciate how Maria Levitt is depicting people's emotions and how how the different characters are interacting. We've got at least two couples that are, I would say, unconsciously coupling due to the Crave app. They're we've got David and Alexandra, and either Mars or Albert and Sophia, and I think that continues from before. And so that's that's nice, and that's beautiful, and or maybe it sickens some people. But in the background is chaos, right? Mm-hmm. So everybody is like, all of these other young people. I think they're students on a campus are either one F or the other, fighting or fucking, if you will. And so I like when you have things going in different directions, but it's kind of done in a beautiful way. Mm-hmm. So I don't know so that works for me. So the characters, maybe we don't know too much about the characters yet, but I like the story structure, what she's doing. And I appreciate the subtlety of the artwork. Mm-hmm. It's definitely not probably going to win any big awards, but it is a little bit more. I don't know. I wonder if she was inspired by manga or possibly even Sunday comics, or I don't know. I'm very curious what is inspiring her. But it's a series that I'm appreciating. It's definitely not one of those you're going to want to read on the bus or whatever, I think you said, or the train, or I don't know, in public. But there's it's a sauciness going on, if you will.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm curious what you thought.
Well, one of the notes I wrote down too was to recommend to not read it on public transport. But yeah, I think it's interesting just to see the consequences of using Crave to get what you want. And, it seems like everyone's thinking about the short term results and not the long term or what happens after. So I think we're starting to see, what happens after. So you use this app, it connects you in some way. I'm starting to wonder if the app is connecting people, or if there's other forces at play, if there's some kind of supernatural or some kind of other power, some other forces that are influencing people. Because we do, when it talks about the elevator being stuck until they connect physically, the elevator stops and then it starts again once they connect, once they kiss or whatever they do. So
exactly.
That made me wonder if there's other things that are happening to force them into situations, or if it is, or if it's just a matter of that it's like a mind experiment, or if there's other things that are happening to make sure that these people follow through with what they're doing. And also I wonder, again, I think I kind of see it as a commentary on social media and the impact it has on us, and the way it influences us and our decisions. And it may not always be a positive. So I'm not sure exactly where it's going. I'm not sure how long of a story they can draw out with this, but I do really like the artwork. I think less is more sometimes. I think it really fits the story. And, so yeah, I'm definitely still on board and anxious to see where it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I think I will admit, I'm not there. I'm a different age of these people here, but I do think about, the future, our youth, if you will. and people are being driven. The
Mhm.
algorithms are driving what people are doing. It's having a big impact, more than we probably even realize. You probably realize it better than I do, because you do bring up some really important points a lot, on the forum. And but I feel like this is necessary. There's no evil corporation yet. We don't know what's behind.
Yeah.
We don't know what's behind it. But so it's really at this point just kind of like about people,
Hmm.
and how they're being driven by this app.
Yeah, I'm glad there hasn't been an evil corporation just yet, but I have a feeling that maybe coming. I hope it leaves it ambiguous, at least with who's behind it, and more about an exploration of how the impact of algorithms and social media on us. But we'll see where it goes. And I didn't realize it's a 6 issue miniseries, so we're
Okay.
about halfway through. So it's about right. I was a little worried about how long this can be drawn out, but I think 6 issues should be about perfect for this one.
Great. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, definitely a series that I've been impressed with. I think it's exploring themes that you usually, well, I shouldn't say usually, but I think it's an important ideas to explore and to kind of play with. But maybe I'm seeing things that aren't there that could be possible too. It's just a fun story. We'll find out. But I think that wraps up our week of picks, issue 30 already. So so if you'd like to connect with us, we can be found on pagechewing.com. On the forums, we have discussions for lots of different books coming up. We're discussing the Fade Out this weekend. We are discussing, we have plans for the Alan Moore Swamp Thing. We have plans for the Sandman. We have plans for other stuff. We're finishing up Berserk soon, so we'll have more room to do other manga. So swing by, say hello, and connect with us, and tell us how wrong we are about whatever it is we say. It'll be fun. It's a fun discussion. So until next week, hope everyone's doing fine, and we will see you all very soon.
See you all